Ethan stepped off the shuttle, his boots echoing against the metal platform of the orbiting station. He had seen the stars countless times from ships and observation decks, but nothing prepared him for the quiet hum of the station, suspended in the void of space like a fragile jewel. Humanity's presence here was new, and the station itself carried a sense of history older than any human civilization. As a liaison and explorer, Ethan had been sent to represent humans in diplomatic matters and observe interactions with the many alien species that shared the station. He knew that each step he took was more than just walking on metal. It was a step into a larger story that humans had only begun to write in the galaxy. The corridors of the station were mostly empty at this hour. Crew members and diplomats had dispersed to their quarters or briefing rooms. Lights glowed softly along the walls, casting faint shadows that flickered as Ethan walked. His training had taught him to notice details others would ignore. A door slightly ajar, a faint echo where there shouldn't be one, the subtle vibration of a hidden mechanism. He felt that familiar awareness now, the prickling sense that someone or something was watching him. He slowed his pace, scanning the corridor. Nothing moved, yet the feeling persisted. Ethan rounded a corner and the sense of being observed intensified. At the end of the corridor, a door slid open slowly, almost silently. A figure appeared, framed by the dim light from inside the room. She was unlike any being Ethan had seen. Her skin had a subtle shimmer as though reflecting the lights of the corridor, and her eyes, large, expressive, and startlingly human in emotion, met his. There was an intensity there, a combination of urgency and relief. She held her hand slightly out, beckoning him. "Come inside," she whispered, her voice soft but commanding, carrying a weight that made him pause. Instinct told him to be cautious, yet something in her eyes drew him forward. He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a faint hiss. The room was small, lit by soft ambient lights. It smelled faintly of metal and something sweet he could not name. The alien woman moved gracefully toward a console in the corner and gestured for him to sit. "My name is Lyra," she said, her accent smooth, precise, and foreign. "I need your help." Ethan studied her carefully. Humans had learned long ago to rely on instincts in uncertain situations. He had faced hostile worlds, unpredictable weather, and creatures that tested every survival skill, but this was different. This was a matter of trust. He nodded slowly. "I'm Ethan," he replied. "Tell me what's happening." Lyra glanced toward the door, then back at him. Her eyes held a flicker of fear. "I carry information," she said. "Information that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Some factions want it destroyed. Others want to use it to manipulate humans. And if they find me, well, you can guess what might happen." Ethan's mind raced. He had encountered political intrigue before, but nothing of this magnitude. He thought about the humans' position in the galaxy, recently recognized, cautious but growing in influence. Any misstep here could endanger not just him, but the fragile trust humanity had built. "Why me?" he asked. "Why not someone else?" Lyra's gaze softened. "Because humans, you are different. You have a tendency to protect life, even when there is no personal gain. That quality is rare. It makes you unpredictable to those who try to manipulate others for power." As she spoke, Ethan noticed faint vibrations along the floor and walls, signals of some sort, subtle but deliberate. His training in security and reconnaissance told him they were being watched, tracked. "We don't have much time," Lyra added. "They'll come for me soon. I need to get off this sector before the station's security finds me." Ethan thought about the shuttle and the communications link he had. Calling for help could alert them instantly. He had to make a choice: risk his own safety or leave her to fend for herself. The decision was instinctive. He moved closer. "We'll figure it out," he said. "Show me the way." Lyra led him through a narrow passage behind the main room. The walls were lined with panels and conduits, giving Ethan a sense of the station's age and complexity. As they moved, Lyra explained that her species, the Alari, had discovered an ancient technology from a long-extinct civilization. This technology had the potential to stabilize entire star systems, or, in the wrong hands, destroy them. "The Council believes humans are a minor player," she said, "but they are wrong. They don't know your potential. They want to test it, and if you fail, humanity could be blamed for everything." Ethan absorbed every word, his mind working to piece together what this meant. Humanity had always been underestimated. It was part of their history, their struggle, their survival. And now, this alien woman was telling him that humans could change the course of galactic events if they acted wisely. A sudden sound made them both freeze, a metallic clang echoing from the corridor behind them. Security drones were sweeping the sector, methodical and relentless. Ethan's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. "This way," he whispered, pointing toward a maintenance hatch that Lyra had revealed earlier. They slipped inside, descending into tight tunnels barely tall enough to walk upright. The air was cooler here, the hum of the station above them muffled. As they navigated the winding paths, Lyra began to explain more about her people and the ancient technology. "The device responds to thought patterns," she said. "Specifically, it responds to your kind, humans. The others cannot activate it fully. They tried, and the results were catastrophic. That is why I am being hunted. They need someone to exploit this power, someone they cannot predict." Ethan was both fascinated and uneasy. Power like that in the wrong hands could devastate entire worlds. Yet he realized humanity's strength had always been resilience, adaptability, and morality. He could not ignore this chance to protect both Lyra and the truth. Hours seemed to pass as they moved through the hidden corridors. They avoided patrols, ducked into alcoves when lights swept past, and communicated in whispers. Ethan's trust in Lyra grew as she demonstrated not just knowledge of the station, but strategy and foresight. He, in turn, began to appreciate how humans, empathy, and quick thinking could complement her experience and intellect. Finally, they reached a hidden docking bay where an older transport ship waited, partially disguised by maintenance equipment. Lyra led Ethan to the control panel. "We can leave now," she said, but hesitated. Her eyes betrayed doubt. "Or we can risk going to the council chamber. If we expose the conspiracy before they act, we might prevent war, or worse." Ethan considered her words carefully. Humans had survived countless trials by standing up for what was right. "We do it," he said firmly. "We expose the truth. We can't run from it." Lyra's expression shifted from fear to determination. "Very well," she said. "But once we step into that chamber, there is no turning back. You understand?" "I understand," Ethan replied, "and I'll be ready." The part ends with the distant hum of security drones approaching, their lights sweeping over corridors, while Ethan and Lyra prepare for a move that could change not only the fate of the station, but the perception of humanity across the galaxy. In that moment, Ethan felt a quiet surge of pride, not for himself, but for the species he represented. Humanity had always faced the impossible. Now, in the silent corridors of a far-off station, they would face it again. The docking bay was silent except for the low hum of machinery. Ethan and Lyra stayed crouched behind the transport, the metallic floor cold under their hands. Through the small viewport, Ethan could see security drones patrolling above, sweeping the area in precise patterns. Every light that passed was a potential discovery, and every shadow a temporary refuge. He had faced dangerous situations before, but this was different. This was not a battle of weapons, but of strategy, trust, and quick thinking. His mind raced to plan each step carefully. Lyra examined the control panel and tapped a few commands. "We need to start the transport quietly," she whispered. "Any alert and the council will assume humans are attacking. That would make it impossible to prove the truth." Her eyes met his, conveying a mix of urgency and hope. "You understand what's at stake?" "I do," Ethan said. "Let's move before they find us." He had seen humanity rise from desperate situations, not through raw power, but through cleverness, courage, and loyalty. He knew that those traits could still make the difference, even here in this alien station far from Earth. The transport shuddered as it powered up, almost silent thanks to Lyra's expert adjustments. Ethan took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. They slipped inside and sealed the doors. The interior was cramped, with panels and consoles lining the walls, but it offered concealment. Lyra quickly entered coordinates into the navigation system, pointing to a path that would bypass the main council chambers while still allowing them access at the right moment. "The maintenance corridors give us cover," she said. "We move fast, but carefully. One mistake and they will stop us." As the transport slid forward along hidden tracks, Ethan asked, "Why is this technology so important? Why would anyone want to control it?" Lyra's expression became serious. "It is not just power, it is knowledge. This device, created by a civilization that vanished thousands of cycles ago, can reveal patterns of intelligence, predict behaviors, even control energy in ways our science can only imagine. In the wrong hands, it could destabilize entire star systems. But it responds to humans in a way it does not respond to others. That makes you the target whether you realize it or not. Ethan considered this. Humanity had always been underestimated. From primitive survival on Earth to interstellar exploration, humans had adapted in ways others could not predict. He realized the Council's test wasn't just about observing humans, it was about control. And that test could now turn deadly for Lyra and indirectly for him. He tightened his grip on the console rail. "We have to protect this knowledge," he said firmly, "and we have to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." The transport emerged from the maintenance tunnels into a section of the station with less foot traffic. Ethan peered out through a small viewport and saw alien guards moving in coordinated patterns. Some looked alert, others distracted. Every species had its own way of operating, but their alertness reminded him that time was against them. Lyra activated a low-energy shield around the transport, masking it temporarily from scanners. "It won't hold forever," she said. "We need to reach the council chamber soon." As they approached the access point, Lyra explained more about her people. "The Alari have always been observers and keepers of knowledge. We value life and understanding above conquest. But even we have enemies, factions that believe the galaxy should bow to their control. That is why I am being hunted. They fear what humans can do, and they fear me helping you understand it." Ethan absorbed her words. Human strength had always been in empathy, courage, and ingenuity. That is why humanity had survived for so long despite overwhelming odds. And now, in this moment, those qualities would determine the outcome of an interstellar conflict before it even began. He nodded, letting Lyra know he understood. They reached the council corridor, a wide, impressive hallway filled with holographic displays and data streams projecting the station's status. Alien ambassadors moved about, some in discussion, others watching monitors. Ethan could feel the weight of attention, the silent judgments from species far older and more powerful than humans. Yet he felt no fear, only resolve. This was humanity's moment to prove its worth not through intimidation, but through action. Lyra led him to a concealed door, opening it into a small observation area overlooking the main council chamber. The chamber itself was circular, with alien leaders seated in positions that radiated authority. Ethan could see the council's diversity, shapes, colors, and forms beyond human comprehension, yet all projecting an unmistakable presence of power. He realized that every movement, every word here would be scrutinized. Missteps could lead to chaos. "They are about to vote on a motion that will isolate humans from galactic affairs," Lyra whispered. "If it passes, the Council will seize the device and accuse humans of violating treaties. We need to stop them." Ethan felt a surge of determination. Humans had always faced impossible odds. They had survived wars, plagues, and natural disasters because they acted with courage and wisdom. "Then we act," he said. "We show them the truth." Lyra nodded and prepared a small device that linked to the Council's communication network. It was delicate. A single misstep could trigger alarms. Ethan observed, learning quickly, his hands steady and precise. The device sent a secure feed to the Council displays, showing evidence of the factions plotting against Lyra and humanity, including intercepted communications, altered reports, and hidden instructions. The truth was out there, ready to be revealed. Suddenly, an alarm sounded faintly in the background. One of the alien attendants had noticed irregularities in the feed. Ethan and Lyra exchanged quick glances. They had seconds, maybe less, before security forces realized what was happening. Lyra activated the device fully, projecting holographic images into the council chamber. The evidence of the conspiracy was undeniable. Council members whispering with hidden agents, instructions to manipulate human representatives, and proof that the ancient technology was meant to be exploited, not preserved. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Alien leaders reacted with shock, disbelief, and anger. Some tried to deny the evidence, while others realized the implications immediately. Ethan's heart pounded, but he stayed calm. Humanity had survived this far through courage and cleverness, and now it would be tested again. One of the alien leaders, tall with translucent skin that glowed faintly, stood abruptly. "This cannot be true," they said, their voice reverberating through the chamber. "We have trusted our own systems." "How could this happen?" Ethan watched, understanding that the Council's internal divisions were now visible, their secrecy shattered by evidence that humans were never meant to see or be blamed for. Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "It is true. These factions sought to manipulate humans and the Council itself. They underestimated the human capacity for judgment, loyalty, and courage. I present the truth, not to dominate, but to preserve balance." Her eyes met Ethan's briefly, and he saw relief and trust in them. She relied on humanity's principles to act as the bridge between the Council and justice. The chamber erupted into debate. Security units tried to intervene, but other Council members acted quickly, demanding a pause and a review of the evidence. Ethan realized then that humans' reputation was rising not because of weapons or threats, but because of clarity, honesty, and the willingness to stand beside truth, even when threatened. Outside the chamber, small groups of humans and allied species prepared to support the intervention. Ethan and Lyra had created a ripple that was now spreading. The power of unity, integrity, and courage became visible, tangible, and undeniable. Every alien in the chamber understood that humans were not to be underestimated. They had principles, and they acted upon them even under pressure. Hours passed as the Council reviewed the evidence. Some members tried to cover up or manipulate the interpretation, but the weight of proof was overwhelming. Lyra guided Ethan through each step, explaining alien protocols and ensuring that their actions would remain within lawful bounds. It was a delicate balance, and Ethan's judgment was critical. He realized that humanity's advantage was not raw power, but ethical decision-making combined with intelligence and adaptability. By the end of the day, the Council had been forced to acknowledge the conspiracy. Factions that sought to exploit Lyra's knowledge were removed from authority, at least temporarily, and new measures were implemented to protect humans and the ancient technology. Ethan felt a surge of satisfaction. Humanity had succeeded not through domination, but through moral courage, intelligence, and willingness to act when it mattered most. Lyra turned to him as they left the chamber, her expression soft but resolute. "You did well," she said. "You have shown what humans can achieve." "Not by force, but by acting with integrity and bravery." Ethan nodded. He understood that this was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity's place in the galaxy had been tested, and it had risen. As they made their way back to the transport, Ethan glanced at the stars beyond the station. He thought of Earth, of humans working together despite limitations, and he realized that the journey was only starting. New challenges would come, new tests of courage and ingenuity, and humanity would face them all as they always had, together resilient and willing to act for what was right. The part ended with Ethan and Lyra ready to return to the station's central hub, their minds alert, their bond strengthened. Humanity had proven its value, and a new chapter in interstellar history was beginning. Ethan understood that sometimes, the most important battles were fought not with weapons, but with integrity, intelligence, and the willingness to stand by others when it mattered most. The Council chamber was quiet now, but the tension lingered in the air like a storm waiting to break. Ethan and Lyra stepped carefully onto the polished floor, their eyes scanning every corner. The alien leaders had retreated to private discussions after the initial shock of the evidence, leaving the chamber almost empty except for a few attendants who kept watch. Every step Ethan took echoed, a reminder that humans were still under observation. He knew that the next few moments would determine not only Lyra's fate, but humanity's standing in the galaxy. Lyra moved toward a console in the center of the room, her fingers gliding over controls with practiced ease. "We need to activate the device fully," she said. "Its purpose is not just to prove the conspiracy, but to show the Council what humans are capable of, without them realizing it at first. The technology will reveal our intent and character, not just power." Ethan nodded. Humans had always been underestimated because others measured them by raw strength alone. It was a mistake that had cost many species time and opportunity. Here, humanity had a chance to show that intelligence, morality, and courage were just as powerful as weapons. He watched as Lyra inserted a small key into the device, a sleek piece of technology that glowed faintly under her touch. As she activated it, holographic projections rose into the air, displaying images, data streams, and symbols far beyond Ethan's comprehension at first glance. Yet he understood the meaning. The device responded to human neural patterns, to thought and intent, and it recognized him. It projected not only information but also an understanding of humans' ability to reason, adapt, and make ethical choices even under pressure. Ethan realized that this ancient technology was not meant to be wielded as a weapon. It was meant to bridge civilizations, to highlight the best qualities in a species capable of growth and empathy. Outside the chamber, alarms began to sound faintly. Agents loyal to the corrupt factions had detected activity and were moving quickly to intercept them. Ethan felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic would only ruin their chances. Instead, he focused on observation and timing. Every species in the council chamber was watching now, some with fear, others with curiosity. The projections continued to rise, illuminating the faces of leaders who had never expected humans to play such a decisive role. Lyra spoke softly, yet her voice carried across the room, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. These humans acted without malice, without desire for conquest. They stood by truth and justice when others sought to manipulate and control. That is why this technology responds to them. It recognizes their character, their courage, and their integrity. The words hung in the air, and Ethan could see the council members reacting. Some whispered urgently to each other, others leaned forward, eyes wide with realization. Humans were not merely survivors. They were agents of moral action in a galaxy often ruled by fear and self-interest. A sudden movement drew Ethan's attention. Several security units loyal to the conspirators entered the chamber, weapons raised, ready to stop the demonstration. Ethan instinctively moved to intercept them, positioning himself between Lyra and the intruders. He remembered every training exercise, every survival situation he had faced, and applied it now with careful precision. "Stop!" he shouted. "You will not interfere. We are revealing the truth, not attacking anyone." His voice carried authority that startled the alien units, who hesitated, unaccustomed to humans speaking with such confidence under threat. Lyra activated an emergency protocol on the device, causing a surge of energy to project a non-lethal, disorienting wave. The intruders staggered, unable to continue their approach without risk of detection by their own leaders. Ethan took the moment to steady himself, breathing carefully. He knew the importance of composure. Humans' ability to remain calm under pressure was being tested at its highest level. As the projections continued to expand, they displayed intercepted communications, secret plans, and hidden alliances within the council. Every detail was undeniable, every action traceable. The council members who had remained undecided now reacted with shock and recognition. Those who had underestimated humans were forced to reconsider. Humanity's role in the galaxy was no longer a question of potential. It was a fact, demonstrated through courage, intelligence, and ethical decision-making. One of the council leaders, a being with crystalline skin that shimmered in multiple colors, stood abruptly. "This is impossible," they said. "We were deceived. How could a human of all species have such insight and judgment?" Ethan met their gaze evenly. "Because humans have always survived not by brute strength alone, but by acting for what is right," he replied. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We value truth and courage, and we act when others hesitate." Lyra stepped closer to him, her hand lightly brushing the console. "And this device," she said, "confirms it. Humans' intent resonates with its programming. It responds not to dominance but to character, moral courage, and loyalty. That is why I sought Ethan. That is why humans must be seen as equal partners in this galaxy, not threats or pawns." The council chamber erupted into discussion. Some members demanded investigation into the conspirators, while others sought assurances that humans would not exploit the technology. Ethan realized that the debate itself was progress. Humans had moved from observers to participants, their presence undeniable and respected. He felt a quiet pride, not for personal achievement, but for what humanity had accomplished. Trust, courage, and intelligence had opened a door that weapons could not. Outside the chamber, the conspirators attempted a final intervention. Security drones moved swiftly, but they were met by allied units who had been quietly positioned throughout the station. Ethan and Lyra watched as the plan to suppress the revelation failed. The conspirators were disarmed, detained, or forced into retreat. Every action taken demonstrated the effectiveness of humans' allies, built through quiet cooperation and relationships over time. Ethan thought about how humans had always formed bonds, not just for advantage, but because they valued collaboration. That principle now shaped the outcome of this interstellar crisis. Lyra activated the device fully, causing a final projection to fill the chamber. A message from the ancient civilization appeared, directed at humans specifically. It spoke of potential, adaptability, and the ability to act ethically under pressure. It praised humans for qualities that others had overlooked: loyalty, courage, and moral judgment. Ethan watched, feeling the weight of history converge on this moment. Humanity was being recognized not for dominance, but for character, intelligence, and the willingness to stand by truth. The council members were silent, absorbing the message. Some nodded, others murmured agreements, and a few seemed humbled by the revelation. Humans had arrived in the galaxy quietly, often underestimated, yet here, their impact was undeniable. Ethan realized that every challenge, every hardship, every survival struggle on Earth had prepared humanity for moments like this, moments where courage and integrity mattered more than force. Lyra turned to Ethan, her expression a mix of relief and gratitude. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of, not through conquest or intimidation, but through action, understanding, and moral courage." Ethan nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Humans had always faced impossible odds, and time and again they had risen. This was no different. As they left the council chamber, the atmosphere in the station had changed. Whispers of respect for humans spread among species present. Aliens who had doubted humanity's ability now looked at them with curiosity, and some with admiration. Ethan understood that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, and humanity's journey had only just begun. The transport waited for them, and as they boarded, Ethan glanced at the stars beyond the station windows. Each one was a potential world, a new challenge, a place where humans could prove themselves again. He felt a sense of responsibility, but also pride. Humanity had been tested and had shown its best qualities: resilience, empathy, courage, and intelligence. These traits were now visible across the galaxy, recognized not through force but through moral action. Lyra activated the navigation system, plotting a course back to the central hub where humans and allied species coordinated their activities. "This is just the start," she said. "The Council will remember this. The galaxy will remember." Ethan nodded. He thought about Earth, about the long history of human struggle and survival, and he realized that humans had always been ready for the impossible. Now, in this distant station, they had demonstrated that they could face the galaxy with the same courage and integrity. As the transport moved through the station's corridors, Ethan allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity's role was no longer hidden or underestimated. Through trust, intelligence, and ethical action, they had secured recognition, respect, and a voice in the Council. It was a victory not of weapons, but of principles. He felt the weight of that achievement and the responsibility it carried for the future. The part ended with Ethan and Lyra preparing to return to the station's main sector, aware that new challenges awaited. But they were ready. Humanity had proven its worth, not through domination, but through character and courage. And in that truth lay the promise of a future where humans could influence the galaxy not by force, but by wisdom, bravery, and integrity. The stars beyond the station glimmered like witnesses to the beginning of a new chapter, and Ethan understood that sometimes the smallest acts of courage, stepping through a door, choosing to trust, could shape the fate of civilizations.